Hello and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to discuss digestive system tumors. To start with tumors, there are different kind of tumors in the digestive system. Start with carcinoma of the esophagus. Uh, the two morphological variants account for the majority of esophageal cancer. One is adenocarcinoma and the second one is squamous cell carcinoma. And worldwide, squamous cell carcinoma are more common. When we take a look of squamous cell carcinoma, usually occur in adults older than 45 years old, and male are 4 times more frequently prone to that disease as compared to the females, with a number of risk factors consist of alcohol, poverty, tobacco use, caustic esophageal injury. If someone have ingested sodium hydroxide, if you have remember chemistry, NaOH, caustic soda, or sodium hydroxide, or achalexia, or some of the other reasons like Plummer-Vinson syndrome. I have put the definition below, you can read. And the frequent consumption of very hot beverages, drinking hot coffees, sometimes radiation therapy to the mediastinum, they are all the risk factors that can cause squamous cell carcinoma. When we take a look of the pathogenesis, it could be occur because of the nutritional deficiencies, or it could be occur because of the ingestion of polycyclic hydrocarbon, nitrosamines, sometimes because sometimes some food containing nitrosamines. So some people ingested accidentally during cooking of the food, the production of the nitrosamines. Then mutagenic compounds such as found fungus containing food are the possible risk factor. In the Europe and the United States, they're at least the partially attributed to the use of alcohol and tobacco. So the most of the cases in US and the Europe, EU is linked to the alcohol use and tobacco use. So food has played an important role in the pathogenesis of the disease. When we take a look of the morphology, squamous cell carcinoma begin as a in situ lesion in the form of squamous dysplasia, and they appear in the form of polypoid shape, like you can see that the finger-like projection that grow outwards. So we can say that polypoids shape, and the early lesions appear as small or grayish-white plaque, light thickening over the months, polypoids and protrude into and obstruct the lumen. So you can see that with the passage of time, it can grow upward. And if you take a look of this one is actually just to explain that how it protrude and obstruct the lumen. It just like it just grow outward. This is an example for intestinal protrusion, and it is example of strangulated hernia, where in strangulated hernia the wall, especially the small intestine, cross the wall because of the hole or perforation, and then it protrude and can be explained in terms of intestinal protrusion. So same like in squamous cell carcinoma, they also protrude into and obstruct the lumen. When you take a look of this picture, the main thing is that the esophageal wall is thick, rigid, and the luminal narrowing occur. And most of the squamous cell carcinoma are moderately to well differentiated, and they often invaded the esophageal wall at the time of diagnosis. The rich submucosal lymphatic network promote the longitudinal spread, and intramural tumor nodules may present several centimeters away from the main mass. The site of lymph node metastasis varied with the tumor location. Cancer in the upper third of the esophageal favors cervical lymph nodes, and then it can spread to the lower third spread to the gastric and celiac nodes. If you take a look of this slide, they're also explaining the symptomatic tumors are generally very large. They can invade the esophageal wall, and I mentioned, and I already discussed before, that they are intramural tumors that can be do metastasis through lymph node, depend upon location. The clinical features consist of dysphagia or dinophagia, obstruction, extreme weight loss, and the first symptom are caused by aspiration of food through tracheoesophageal fistula. So what is dysphagia? I mentioned here that the swelling difficulty can be explained in terms of dysphagia. And when we talk about tracheoesophageal fistula, this is the picture can be explained. What is that? Because in tracheoesophageal fistula, when we talk about, actually they are forming the fistula or fusion through trachea and then through esophagus. This is the normal anatomy. We know that trachea and esophagus are the separate structure, but somehow atraxia occur with distal fistula, and then they make a fusion, and then later on it may form proximal fistula, and then that can be expressed as tracheoesophageal fistula because the fistula formed between trachea and esophagus. Then we have carcinoma of the stomach, and the common example is gastric adenocarcinoma, which is the most common malignancy of the stomach, comprising 90% of all gastric cancers. And the early symptoms consist of dyspepsia, dysphagia, nausea, with advanced stage leading to weight loss, anorexia, altered bowel habit, anemia, and hemorrhage trigger. When we take a look of epidemiology, it is usually occur in Japan, Chile, Costa Rica, Eastern Europe, and North America, Europe, Africa, and Southeast Asia. The endoscopic screening program is successful in Japan, such as the gastric cancer is most common in the lower socioeconomic groups and in persons that have multifocal mucosal atrophies or intestinal metaplasia. When we take a look of pathogenesis, the pathogenesis can be explained in a number of ways. Number one thing is that it could be caused because of the H. pylori induced chronic gastritis that produce pro-inflammatory proteins such as interleukotriene 1b and tumor necrotic factor. So this is one of the reason. Second thing is the mutation. Why mutation is this mutation on the TP53 mutation that can result in gastric adenocarcinoma, and they will found a marked lymphocytic infiltrates, especially proximal stomach. The third one that is explained is the infection caused because of the Epstein-Barr virus infection. If you take a look of pathogenesis of this disease, it could be caused because of the three reasons. Number one is H. pylori induced gastritis by increasing production of pro-inflammatory proteins such as interleukotriene 1b and tumor necrosis factor. When we take a look of the second reason, it could be caused because of the mutation, especially CDH1, and especially because of the APC gene, which is known as adenomatous polyposis coli. And when we discuss with that condition, that actually mutation in the CDH1 are present in about 51, in mutation in CD which are present in about 50% of sporadic diffusion gastric tumor, and it is often promoted by that CDH1 promoter. And the main function in that problem or in that mutation is the loss of E-cadherin function, which is a key step for development of gastric cancer. And it is when we discuss the mutations, we're talking about The mutation caused because of the TP53 mutation in most of the sporadic gastric cancers, which I already mentioned in the slide. And so the TP53 mutation is also one of the reasons, and with the presence of marked lymphocyte infiltrates. The third reason is actually Epstein-Barr virus (EBV) infections, and it is most commonly associated with this cancer. About around 10% of the gastric adenocarcinomas, and we don't know yet the mechanism behind that, what is the cause behind that carcinoma, but they are already discussing that the mutation of TP53 are found uncommon in EBV positive gastric tumors. So the mechanism is still not yet known that what it could be the reason, but usually if morphologically EBV positive tumors tend to have more lymphocytic infiltrates. Morphologically, they look like bulky glandular structures similar to esophageal and colonic adenocarcinoma. The neoplastic cells are often contain apical mucin vacuoles and abundant of mucin present in the glands and lumina. And you can see that because of the abundant mucin, the surface look very shiny. If you observe that picture, it look very shiny because of the presence of mucin. Then we also found decohesive cell with large mucin vacuole that expand the cytoplasm, and they are also making a ring-like structure we call signet ring structure. And these ring-like structure, if you take and observe them, they look like a ring structure, so we explain them as signet ring structure. So this is a picture of the tumor cell. Clinical features consist of flat dysplasia adenomas. The mean age presentation is around 55 years, and usually in male it is higher as compared to the female with the ratio of 2:1. The depth of invasion and extent of nodal and distant metastasis occur at the time of diagnosis, and it is one of the powerful prognostic indicator for gastric cancer. And surgical resection occur, but survival rate for early gastric cancer can exceed to 90%. So early identification of the cancer is very important. Then we have carcinomas of the large intestine, and we have adenocarcinoma of the colon, the most common, and then we have the other carcinoid tumors that are roughly equal rate, followed by lymphomas and sarcomas. The epidemiology in US, the cases around more than 130,000 new cases, and 55,000 deaths from colorectal adenocarcinoma. The age is around 60 to 70 years of age where this disease occur. Less than 20% of cases occur before the age of 50. Male are affected more than females. The prevalence is in either United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Denmark, Sweden, and other developed countries. 34 lower in India, South America, and Africa. When we take a look of the morphology, overall adenocarcinoma are distributed approximately equally over the entire length of colon. The tumor in the proximal colon often grow as polypoid exophytic mass that extend along one wall of the large cesium and ascending colon, and these tumors rarely cause an obstruction. By the contrast, carcinomas in the distal colon tend to be more annular lesion that produce napkin ring. If you take a look of the next slide, either the carcinoma could be like exophytic that protrudes outward, like this is the carcinoma that grow or that move outwards, whereas the other in the distal part, it could be like a napkin ring, a constriction. You can see this constricting, or you can see I already mentioned at the transverse part, transverse colon, they making a constriction, a narrow napkin ring like structure. So that is why we call them napkin ring. which causing constriction and luminal narrowing. The general microscopic characteristics of right-sided and left-sided colonic adenocarcinomas are similar. Most tumors consist of tall columnar cells that resemble dysplastic epithelium found in adenomas. The invasive components of these tumors elicit strong desmoplastic response, which is responsible for their characteristics. Some poorly differentiated tumors form few glands. Others may produce abundant mucin that accumulate within the intestinal wall and carry poor prognosis. And the tumor consists of signet ring structure similar to gastric cancer. So when we take a look of the pictures, we can find very easily that in our next slides, uh, they are making the hyperchromatic nuclei where the nuclear size is very big. If you see, the nuclear size is quite big, and they are well differentiated with the we can say that with hyperchromatic nuclei. They are elongated. Why? Because of their enlarged nuclei. If you take a look of this picture, the previous picture is more about the well differentiated adenocarcinoma, where the hyperchromatic nuclei can be seen very clearly, whereas this is another picture which is poorly differentiated adenocarcinoma, because they consist of nest-like structure. Again, this picture, I'm going to show you this one. This they are making nest pig. They are just like a making nest like this. In this case, they are in the circular form and the cells are elongated. So they are making the nest like structure. And the main thing that we found that they're forming the ring-like structure, we can call the presence of mucin and a ring structure like this one. And because of their ring-like appearance, we discuss signet ring similar to gastric cancer. And if you take a look at this picture, we have mucinous adenocarcinoma with signet ring structure. Again, if you take any one picture and zoom it, you found that the presence of large mucin, and then they appear like a ring-like structure. When we take a look of clinical features, the main thing is that sometimes it is not diagnosable easily and it gets undetected for a long period. And when patient feel fatigueness or weakness because of the iron deficiency, then patient will go for the examination. And the clinical underlying mechanism is the iron deficiency anemia in male or post-menopausal female. That is one of the reason. Or from sometime what happened that in colorectal adenocarcinoma we have occult bleeding or changes in the bowel habits or cramping in the lower left quadrant discomfort. For prognosis of these carcinomas are poor because of the mucinous histological pattern. The main thing that we will find is the presence of uh, the depth of invasion, because if the depth of invasion is exceeded, then it can lead to the lymph node metastasis, and sometimes these metastasis can be spread through portal drainage from anorectal region. So if we take a look of this picture, we can find that they are responsible for metastasis to the lung or through the lymph node metastasis. And we also found that liver containing two large and many small necrosis and metastasis within the liver. There are many small and large metastases that occur, and they are responsible to spread to different parts. When we take a look of carcinoma of the liver, especially hepatocellular carcinoma, It accounts for approximately 5.4% to all cancers. More than 85% of cases occur in countries with high rate of chronic HBV infection, and the highest incidence of HCC are found in Asian countries such as China, Korea, Taiwan, and sub-Sahara African countries. And if the presence of the aflatoxin and HBV virus are there, then there will be more chances to have a high risk of hepatocellular carcinoma. What is aflatoxin? Aflatoxin is actually produced by certain fungi in the agriculture crops such as maize, peanut, cotton seeds, or tree nuts, and they are present in warm and humid region. And the presence of aflatoxin with HBV virus is responsible for increased risk of hepatocellular carcinoma. In Western countries, the incidence of hepatocellular carcinoma is rapid because of the hepatitis C epidemic. When we take a look of the pathogenesis, the risk factor for hepatocellular carcinoma is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which stands for NAFLD, or hemochromatosis, or alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, or tyrosinemia. High level exposure to dietary aflatoxin, which is a fungus from the Aspergillus flavus, is common. Then it develops from small cell high grade dysplastic nodules in the cirrhotic liver. Then the presence of structural and chromosomal abnormalities indicate a genomic instability, which is also responsible for that carcinoma. When we take a look of morphological characteristics, they are unifocal, usually massive tumor, or they are sometimes multifocal, where made up of a number of nodules variable in size, and they have the capacity to infiltrate and metastasis to the liver and other peripheral organs. On histological example, they are poorly differentiated lesions, multinucleate with anaphylactic giant cells are the characteristics. Clinical features consist of there will be a increase in the liver size, a sudden worsening of ascites, or appearance of bloody ascites, fever or pain that call for attention for the development of tumor. Serological screening consists of serum alpha fetoprotein level. We need to check, we need to examine that level. For radiological screening, we need to see that dysplastic nodules are small hepatocellular carcinomas. So what student need to do in this topic, you need to have search the literature online and find some of the case studies related to different type of carcinomas that we studied. Each student need to find at least one case study and can be take any of the carcinomas, either hepatocellular carcinoma or gastric adenocarcinoma. Just take one of the disease and find one case study. The student need to write this inside the Moodle discussion board, which will be provided. The objective of this practice is to give you some practice of reading some of the case studies, and no grading is required for this task, just it is for the practice purposes. You need to write inside your website for Moodle. And the learning objectives and the learning outcome of this topic is we able to differentiate different digestive system tumors and try to understand the pathogenesis, morphology, and clinical features of different digestive tumors. So thank you so much for this lecture. Hope to see you again.